Not interested in the TNL no expansion. I am now, actually. And the reason why I'm all of a sudden, as of literally yesterday, is someone tweeted me saying to check out the TNL expansion because they've actually started to improve some fundamentals. I wasn't interested in revisiting TNL for the content, because content wasn't the reason why I quit Throne and Liberty. The reason why I stopped playing is because I found the targeting to be really annoying, and basically everything that I listed in my previous video where I made like the whole checklist of things that were annoying about the game, I wanted those things to be improved. The fundamentals of the combat and the gameplay. That's what I wanted to be improved with TL. But someone tweeted me saying that they've actually started working on those things. Like, he says they've increased the melee radius, which is good. They're making nameplates more visible in 2.1. Range skills with a cast time will have the additional range buffer. That's absolutely huge for range classes. Like, that was baffling that the game didn't have that. So you've now finally got a buffer range. That's another thing I suggested. Maybe they watched my video. Maybe they hired someone with common sense. I'm not too sure. Characters can now move at walking speed instead of running everywhere. So I guess you can walk. Reduce the amount of action lock after using movement skills. Fantastic. Improve the traversal of movement skills so characters get stuck on terrain less frequently. Very good. Improve directional control whilst jumping. Also nice. Reduce character inertia. Very nice again. Charge and gap closer abilities had their effective ranges adjusted to maintain some distance after melee attack. All of this sounds good. This sounds like good fundamentals. And after this guy tweeted me this and I read it the other day, all of a sudden, now I want to revisit Throne and Liberty and try out the new expansion. Prior to this information, I wasn't super interested. So it's nice to see that they're actually working on addressing the fundamentals. Yo, Cannon. Yeah, I wasn't too excited for Talandra expansion, but after hearing about the fundamentals getting improved, which I had no idea about, I'm going to revisit it probably in the next few days, boot it up, load in and see how it is. You made a video for them. You made like a private video. Let's have a look. Okay then, whilst we're on the topic of Throne, let's watch Cannon's new video. I'm excited. Actually really intrigued to revisit Throne now. Let's see.
Since the launch of Throne and Liberty, and we're already getting the latest and biggest expansion for the game. That expansion is called the Wilds of Talandri. We're going to be talking about what you could expect to see.
So it's pronounced Talandri. I've been pronouncing it completely wrong every time. I think I've been calling it Talandra or something. Talandri. Got it.
With the new Talandri expansion, and provide you with a little bit of additional guidance. This video is sponsored by Amazon Games. Shout outs to them for supporting me with this to share the Talandri info. Also, I plan on going pretty hard for the Talandri launch, so definitely be sure to come hang out with me on Twitch. I'm going to be streaming.
When are you not going hard on Throne? No one goes as hard as you on Throne, Cannon.
Pretty much every day, all day. Let's dive into this. Let's begin with explaining what Talandri is. Talandri is a large new region located north of Laslan and Stoneguard, almost doubling the size of the world in Throne and Liberty. And, well, I hope you're ready for this because there is a lot coming in this expansion.
It looks like there's a new castle. From the trailer, it looks like there's a new castle. That'd be interesting if there is. So like 2 castle sieges maybe.
The Talandri region will consist of 1 new town, 6 new major zones, 3 new open world dungeons, 4 new world bosses, and 2 new arc bosses. And that's just the region itself. Here's what we're getting content-wise in a nutshell. A new level cap extension, new tier 2 gear, 5 new instance 3-star dungeons, 2 new character progression systems, a brand new 24/7
I'm not excited for the 2 new character progression systems. Whenever a Korean MMO adds new character progression systems, I get worried. Like the rune system, the last time I tried to go back to Throne was after they added the rune system, and I found it incredibly confusing. So I'm going to have to figure out how that works when I get back into it.
PvP zone called Nebula Island, and solo dungeons, including 4 bosses. First, let's talk about the new level cap. The new level cap will increase from...
Let's go back.
Let's talk about... And solo dungeons.
Solo dungeons. 4 bosses solo dungeons. That could be fun. I really enjoyed the... What was it called? Those dimensional things where you fought the one boss with the interesting mechanics. Those were fun. Actually, some of the most fun I had with Throne was with the PvE content. I thought it was a very fun PvE game. 3-star dungeons, 24/7 PvP zone. I wish we had this at launch. The guild I was in was constantly going to that, was it Saradoma Island at night time looking for action. It's probably good.
Dungeons, including 4 bosses. First, let's talk about the new level cap. The new level cap will increase from level 50 to level 55. This can be easily done within 4 to 5 hours by just leveling through the new main story campaign that can be found under your adventure codex. Expect to see some pretty nice rewards for completing the MSQ main story quest, including some starter tier 2 gear that's definitely worth holding on to. We'll be touching more on this later, but do expect to see some new tier 2 starter gear that will be plenty strong enough to dive right into the Talandri content.
So with this being like a new expansion, I guess all of the other dungeons, you'll never run them again, right? All of the old tier 1 dungeons? Unless they scale up, unless they've added some kind of scaling thing. That's always like a problem with MMOs that are designed with the whole level cap increase. It's something that OSRS doesn't suffer from. Basically, whenever there's a new expansion or a new content, everything, the previous end game, you just never touch that content again. I don't know if that's the case with Throne. I'm assuming it probably is. Demon Kaiser, thanks for the sub.
Speaking of gear, Talandri is also dropping a ton of new tier 2 gear that will certainly open up the build variety from tier 1.
You can still get tokens from the old dungeons that are used to craft the current tier mat, so you'll still run them. Okay, that's good then. At least it's not made completely irrelevant. I appreciate that.
A huge selling point for me personally with Throne has always been the emphasis this game places on unique builds and how there is no one universal build that beats them all. It's very much a pick your poison, pick your strength like system, which is kind of rare to come around these days for MMOs. In tier 2, the gearing gets even more...
Bro, that's some insane attack speed. I guess that's like with the latest gear. This range is going ham.
More expansive and will have you feeling like your class is just more complete. Tier
obviously like locked in place for all of the abilities, but that was
2
fast.
gear can be obtained in similar fashion to how you got your tier 1 gear, with dungeons, open world dungeons, and world bosses playing a large role in your acquisition. With Talandri, you can add Nebula Island to that list, as well as a new revamped weekly mission, which includes PvP activities, by the way, giving players even more content optionality when progressing their character. 5 new 3-star dungeons will be released within the first 2 weeks of the Talandri launch. 3 of them coming on the 6th, and 2 more coming a week later. These dungeons...
I guess they've all fully released now, right? By the time I'll get to endgame, we'll have all the dungeons, because I'm a little bit late starting this expansion. I really did enjoy the Dungeons of Throne and Liberty. I especially love that, the blocking mechanic, the Q block, where you've got the circle from the mob and you need to block at the right time. I always found that to be really satisfying.
Will play a large role in how you gear your character. The pre-existing 1-star and 2-star dungeon tokens that you received will be consolidated to use the same contract token 1 currency to open the chest reward at the end, while the 3-star dungeons will now consume the contract token 2 currency. This means for those of
Okay. Contract token 2. So contract token 2 is used for the 2-star and the 3-star.
you who are currently playing on global, if you save your contract token 2 currency, which is currently being consumed by your 2-star dungeons, you can use them for your 3-star dungeons when Talandri drops. More on dungeons and consolidation. Another major quality of life and system improvement change coming to Talandri are the new consolidated gear crafting tokens. Rather than Abyss and Co-op dungeons all having their own tokens, with Talandri there will now be only tier 1 tokens and tier 2 tokens, which...
Oh, that sounds better. So you can run any dungeon you want. You don't have to run the specific boss. That'd actually be very, very nice.
Correspond to the tier of gear you can craft with them. These tokens will now be obtained from open world Abyss dungeons, co-op dungeons, arena, and the new weekly mission system. Keep in mind your existing dimensional soul shard tokens will automatically be converted to the new tier 1 tokens when Talandri releases.
Oh, I've got loads of those.
Next, we have...
That is so much better, because one problem I had with Throne is that some dungeons were harder to find groups for than others. And I think for some things that you would buy with those tokens, you needed like one of each. So the fact that you don't have to do specific dungeons, you can just do random dungeons. That's so much better.
2 new progression systems coming, artifacts and a new weapon mastery system.
Oh God, this looks complicated, doesn't it? This is the bit that I'm not looking forward to. The thing I loved the launch of Throne and Liberty because it was nice and simple in terms of gearing. And now they're going to add all of these systems. They added the rune system, and now they've got this. Ugh.
I'm not going to dive too deep into these systems in this video, but definitely keep an eye out on the official Global Throne site for a deeper dive. Artifacts are essentially additional gear pieces you equip that will give you some additional stats and bonuses when equipped in a set. The new weapon mastery system resembles something more in line with ARPGs, where you'll have a list of nodes you'll be able to choose from, offering you more power and opening up even more build variety. Keep in mind, this new mastery tree will require a one-time unlock fee, costing you gems, rubrics, Stalin, Emirate, and Marins, as well as Solent. Speaking of material...
I think the reason why I don't like it when Korean MMOs add new progression systems and power systems is because most of the time, 90% of the time, the reason why they add these power systems is to obfuscate pay to win. It's like they make it really complicated and there's some way that you can pay to win it, but it's hard, but it's kind of hidden. Usually that's the reason why they do it. I don't know if that's the reason why they've done it with this one. Maybe it is just a pure non-pay to win additional system that helps the game, but I'm always very skeptical whenever a Korean MMO adds a new progression system. I usually just think, for fuck's sake, this is going to be another way that they're going to be sneaky and try and milk me. Yeah, get the credit card out.
Gear will require the same mats and will require a lot of purple growth stones. If you're stocking up on these early, you'll be farming rubrics, Stalins, and Emirates, but you'll also have to stock up on precious polished crystals and magic powder, as these will also be required to craft the growth stones. The best way to easily farm precious polished crystals is by completing your dungeons and daily contracts.
I've got so many of these. I was basically farming ready for this expansion anyway, so I've probably got tons of mats just good to go.
If you've exhausted all your dailies, the best way to continue farming them on your own is by soloing the first mini boss in the 1-star dungeon Tyrant Isle. This will require a bit of gear, but it's hands down the most efficient way to farm more of these crystals. Okay. The best way to farm magic powder is to simply dissolve the gear pieces you obtain, usually coming from your dungeon in your open world dungeon grind. If you do this, be sure to not dissolve these pieces of gear individually. You want to smash any you can together and trade each piece out before dissolving. When you dissolve a regular base piece, you'll get 10 powder, meaning if you dissolve 2 pieces of gear that are base, you'll only get 20 powder. If you were to smash these 2 together and dissolve 1 piece instead, you'll get 35 powder, 15 more powder than dissolving them separately. Be sure to smash as many together as you can before dissolving them for powder. Next, let's talk about the 3 new open world dungeons that will be available in Talandri.
I've heard that these are like group-based dungeons and they're pretty hard to solo. spending these tokens, these daily tokens, is another reason why I kind of stopped playing this game. It's because, like, at launch, I think this happens with any game that has some kind of
open world,
has some kind of like time gate where you can only do content a certain amount of times per day. At the game's launch, you want to be playing it constantly. So it feels bad to have the time gate at launch because everyone's excited to play the game. Everyone wants to just play it as much as possible. But after a few weeks, you kind of start, you play it less and you don't want to play it as much, but you still feel like you need to play it to reach the cap and to keep up with your dailies. Even though in Throne, doing your daily stuff and keeping on top of your caps didn't take too long. I think it was about 30 minutes to an hour. It was still, it turned into a 30-minute to an hour-long chore that I didn't want to do every day. So the moment I stopped doing it every day, I felt like I've got an extra hour of free time that I didn't previously have. It's like I have 1 hour of less of chores. And if you've only got a limited amount of time where you can just relax and enjoy your gaming time, getting an entire hour back of free time is massive. I think this always happens whenever games have these kind of daily systems. It's happened time and time again. It happened with Lost Ark. It's happened with TNL. Just want to relax instead of melting, yeah. But I don't know, like, how would you solve that issue? It stacks up. Yeah, it does stack up. In Throne, the dailies were not as bad as other MMOs, but still, even still, it did feel like a chore, and I did feel a sense of relief when I stopped doing it, which you shouldn't feel a sense of relief when you stop playing a game.
Dungeons will consume these same Abyssal Contract tokens, so be sure to load up on those for better loot in the new areas. Weekly resistance contracts for Laslan and Stoneguard open world dungeons can also be dissolved and crafted.
I have so many of these fucking scrolls, so many that I would never ever be able to use them. I tried my best, I just couldn't keep on top of them. I kept hitting the cap and I kept getting more scrolls.
Into Talandry resistance contracts at an additional cost. These contracts will give you an upgraded pouch which has more tier 2 gear on its loot table. Keyword being more, meaning the pouches you get from Laslan Stoneguard open world dungeons will also have some tier 2 gear pieces on its loot table, but not as much. Contract coins from your daily contracts can also now be spent on tier 2 weapon selection chests, so loading up on these can afford you a day 1 weapon at the cost of...
Ooh, okay, I've probably got loads of those. It's probably not the weapon you want though for your build, I'm guessing.
3,000 coins. Keep in mind, however, this chest only contains tier 2 weapons that are from 2-star dungeons. You'll
useless then.
Not be able to obtain a tier 2 weapon from a 3-star dungeon via this chest. A lot of you guys have already been pre-farming a lot of these mats to get ahead of the curve, and while that may
Yo, his little dodge thing was a square instead of a circle. I've never seen that before. It's always a circle for me. Is that some kind of setting that he's got enabled?
a lot of these mats to get ahead of the curve, and while that may definitely give you a head start, Talandry content will be released via milestones, meaning not everything is releasing day 1, and you will not...
That's for dodge roll. Oh. That must be new. I don't remember seeing that for tier 1. New dodge roll. That's cool. That is actually cool.
Not be able to get everything day 1. There will be a milestone system in...
When did they add that? So circle is for block and square is for dodge roll.
In place, similar to what we had at the launch of our game, where new events and bosses will be unlocked over a period of time. This will be roughly about a 3-week period for us to unlock all the milestones, with the tier 2 arc bosses being at the end of it. I know what you're thinking. Holy crap, I'm going to be busy as hell in March. That is a lot of content. Well, here's another for you. Nebula Island, the 24/7 PvP zone, is also expected to drop March 13th, 1 week after the start of the expansion.
Oh, that must have already come out then. That must have come out yesterday. Oh, the dodge roll thing was added with tier 2 dungeons. Interesting. I remember the last time I played Throne as well, they was also talking about adding some kind of queuable battleground. Did they ever add that? Or are they still waiting on that? Or is that still in the works? Would you consider a stream guild? Only for a game that I'll be playing long term.
If you're wondering what this is, think of it as a large open world area where players can farm really strong mobs with world bosses spawning for incredible loot. And the whole island, with the exception of one peace zone, is 24/7 PvP. The island is up 24/7. However, for players, there is a 5-hour weekly time limit. For those of you disappointed in hearing that, know that there are ways to increase that cap, giving you well beyond that.
That's interesting. So I suppose with the weekly time limit, you couldn't just have one no-life guild literally sit there all day, every day. Although, if they're a no-life guild, they've probably got ults. So they probably could if they had ults.
Okay, so let's just back this thing up.
Bro's got the Arc Boss weapon. What a chad.
A bit. I know that was a lot, but a lot of content dropping is good. Let me simplify what you'll be doing on a day-to-day basis. When Talandry drops, the day-to-day will be still relatively the same. Do your daily contracts and dungeons, then burn the abyssal contract tokens you get from them in the open world dungeons in
The new island is inter-server. Okay, that's quite interesting then.
Talandry. Big gear upgrades will come from your daily dungeons and open world dungeon grind. Pretty simple. When it comes to that grind, by the way, in 1-star dungeons, you'll be able to open 3 chests per run, with 2-star dungeons giving you the option to open 2 chests per run, so you can burn through your daily tokens significantly faster. Oh, and one last thing on dungeons. Most of you who have been playing this game have probably already heard about the solo dungeons that are coming to Korea soon. Well, you can expect that.
This boss looks really cool. Cannon has 8 Arc Boss weapons. What the fuck? The last time I played the game, each Arc Boss weapon, if you was to pay to win for it, it was over $1,000. Did he get them all from drops? That's mental.
Content to also be released with us here globally the same week. We will be getting 4 of the first 8 bosses with Talandry, and these dungeons can reward you with some great rewards, including base tier 2 weapons. These solo dungeons should provide you an opportunity to learn important mechanics to know in group play, but also serve as non-sweaty content for those who just want to relax and play solo. Lastly, if you're a new player or someone who is thinking about returning to the game to check out the expansion, now would be the best time to do so. Tier 2 means there is essentially a reset in gear, so even if you don't have maxed out tier 1 gear, that's okay.
Oh, so a max level tier 1 piece turns into a +6 tier, what's that, tier 3? Tier 3 piece? Interesting. But tier 3 gear can go to +12. Huh.
Okay, because everyone needs to farm new tier 2 pieces and build it up from scratch again anyway. AGS is implementing huge new player returning player buffs and rewards to further help catch players up. This includes getting an entry tier 2 gear loadout just from completing the MSQ from the Adventure Codex. They're also releasing new tier 2 blue gear, which is going to be on par with tier 1 purple, only with less traits that could be attached.
Oh, that's tier 2, okay.
Attached to them that should also aid in catching up. So is Talandry worth checking out? Well, first off, the game is free, and so is the expansion. If you've enjoyed Throne before, we're actually getting the latest content in Throne. Throne and Liberty in its full glory. This is probably one of the easiest MMOs to come back to or catch up on if you're starting late or took a...
Is it easy to come back to? I don't know, because the last time I logged in, I saw the rune system and I just thought, fuck that. That's way too complicated. Like just seeing the rune system alone made me not want to come back. But I'll give it a try.
Break. With everything we're getting with the Talandri expansion, it'll be especially easy to catch up. Up until now, we've always had an older version of Throne in global, and for me, the launch was for sure fun, but as someone who's already experienced the content in tier 2, being stuck in tier 1, if I'm gonna be real, has been a little bit boring for me. On March 6th, we pretty much get the latest, most current version of Throne with Talandri, which is pretty exciting because it may be the same game, but it's certainly a better version, and there's a lot of fresh new things to look forward to. The big one for me being the new combat and targeting changes that's coming with Talandri.
See, this is the only thing I care about. I don't give a fuck about the content. The content wasn't the reason why I quit the game. This here is what I want to hear about, because the reason I stopped playing was the movement, the combat, the targeting, all of that shit. So this is the part that I'm interested in.
Being the new combat and targeting changes that's coming with Talandri. If you've played Throne before, you know what I'm talking about. Let's be completely honest here. Okay. The targeting was pretty bad, and there were...
So he's actually attacking and moving without being slowed down there with the bow. And that's one of the reasons why, like, auto-attacking with the range thing felt horrible. That actually looks way better.
If you've played Throne before, you know what I'm talking about. Let's be completely honest here. The targeting was pretty bad, and there were way too many issues with combat, ranging from inertia issues to just flat out clunkiness. AGS has worked with NC to implement major changes to this area, and it's just better. The other massive change that I'm looking forward to is the restructuring of conflict bosses, otherwise known as the open world boss PvP in Throne and Liberty. Zerg.
The last time I tried one of these open world boss PvPs, there were so many players and you just couldn't see what was happening. It actually wasn't fun. So it'll be interesting to see what they've done here.
Has always been a huge problem and a major turnoff for a lot of players and virtually everyone in a non-hardcore guild. This too has been changed with the Talandri expansion. Now you'll have 3 portals that spawn: Peace, Dominion, and Guild. All 3 portals will have 96 player caps. Peace will remain PvE and preformed parties can stay together. The new Dominion portal allows players to party up or go solo and be match made into one of 2 teams that will duke it out for the boss loot. Finally, the Guild portal will match guilds for 1v1 battles with 36 to 48 players per guild. There will be a matchmaking system that pairs guilds based on performance data and number of players they entered the portal with. Overall, a much better.
It sounds better than what they had before. I think for guilds, they'd probably enjoy that. That does sound a lot better, to be fair.
System. New dungeons are better, gearing is better, the new zones look better, the new mastery system is better, a 24/7 PvP island. This on top of the fact that combat and targeting is being addressed. Post Talandri Throne looking pretty good right now. Personally, I'm planning on going pretty hard, so yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. One last thing, do me a favor guys, tell me in the comments section below what part of the Talandri expansion you guys are looking forward to the most. I really want to see what areas of the expansion you guys are excited about. Also, before ending the video, be sure to sign up for Amazon Games ID to receive some exclusive bonus Throne rewards, as well as other games on Amazon's platform. I'll see you guys in the next video.
Cool. Yeah, the biggest thing I'm excited for is just improvements to the combat, because I liked a lot of the game's content itself. Let's link that in the chat. Go give Cannon's video a like. Definitely the go-to guy when it goes to Throne content and pretty much any Eastern MMO. Cannon will be the first one to cover it. Cool guy. I actually met him in Bangkok in January. He was on vacation. We went for a steak. Cool guy. Chill dude. That costume contest. When I saw this thumbnail pop up the other day whilst I was eating my dinner, I was tempted to click on it for that outfit. I was thinking, fuck it, oh. But I didn't want to be down bad, so we're not gonna click on that. Yeah, what do you guys think about Throne? Are you open to revisiting the game? Or have the reasons why you stopped playing not yet been addressed? I'm interested to see how the combat changes feel. This definitely looks a lot better. I did update Throne so I can play it anytime now. I just know I'm going to log in and I'm going to be very overwhelmed by these 3 new power systems which have been added. These changes will absolutely mean I'll reinstall. Interesting. Tried it. I don't vibe with the combat at all. That was the reason I stopped, but apparently it's better. That's why I wanna revisit it and see if it's better. Since the daily systems are the same, I know I'll burn out again. Fair. Yeah, me too, probably. Catch-up's too hard. Never played it. Not sure how new player feeling is like. I suppose as a new player, you'll just be MSQ from 1 to 55, so it might be better, although maybe it's more confusing to learn those new power systems from a new player's perspective rather than someone returning to the game. Combat is still the deal breaker for me, and the PvP zoomed in space with health bars all over the screen is too much. Yeah, fair. It's not miles better, still a clunkiness between action combat and tabbing onto the mob you actually want to hit. I guess I'm gonna have to log in and see how it feels for myself. Either way, I think I'd probably still be able to have at least a week of fun doing the PvE content. I did always enjoy the PvE content in Throne. You can zoom out even more now. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I will revisit it. I actually had no intention of revisiting the game until I heard that they are actually improving the combat and the targeting. So at least there's some progress there.